Hi, I'm Joe Cimino with ProAct. Today we're in Southern California with Rob Bertels from Mission Produce. Rob, talk to us about the upcoming crop on avocados throughout the summer.
Well, right now we're kind of about at the peak season of the California fruit. We're getting good supply and good availability. Leading up to the 4th of July, I think California will be fairly substantial. We're starting arrivals from Peru. They've been arriving here for the last couple of weeks, and we should have ample supply of Peruvian fruit throughout the summer. Probably the crop will last into early September from Peru. From Mexico, we're kind of hitting the end of the current season for Mexico. The crop cycle typically runs through the end of June, so we're kind of in the last month of that. So as the supply from Mexico declines, California is pretty steady, and the availability from Peru is pretty solid. So we'll have a mix of those three sources throughout the summer.
Rob, talk to me about size profile and quality from the different regions that we're about to see over the summer.
Well, I'll talk about Peru, since that's where the lion's share of the supply will be for the next few weeks into a couple of months. Peru generally has a little bit larger fruit. Typically it peaks on a 48 or a 40 size, so tends to be a little bit larger fruit from Peru. And what we've seen so far, the quality's been really outstanding. Given all the rain that they had in Peru in March, they had some infrastructure problems with roads and bridges. All that seems to be repaired, and the fruit seems to be flowing out of the country fairly well right now. So we expect in the U.S. probably somewhere between 135 and 150 million pounds of fruit from Peru arriving in the U.S. The total crop itself is closer to 500 million pounds, but a lot of that tends to find its way to Europe and Asia and other markets. So we're seeing good sized fruit. Quality's been really outstanding. The trees have matured a little bit more in Peru, so we're getting a very consistent crop from there. If we're talking about California, the fruit's a little bit smaller. The quality's been excellent from California as well. Supplies have been fairly consistent for the past couple of months. We kind of think that there was a bit of a peak in production leading up to Memorial Day, and then it's kind of tapered off and flattened out a little bit. Mexico itself has really been declining a bit as far as total volumes, and since they're getting toward the end of the crop cycle, we're experiencing more number 2 fruit, not quite as much of the number 1 fruit as we typically get out of Mexico at this time. So that's, as they get to the end of the crop cycle, that's a fairly typical thing that happens.
Hey, speaking of Peru, can you talk to us about some of the challenges you deal with when importing fruit from other countries?
Yeah, what we do in Peru, it's very interesting. I was there just a few weeks ago, and it's a long ride from Peru. At our ranch in the north part of Peru, we have a hydro cooler there, so we cool down the fruit as it comes out of the field, and then it has to ride down to the packing plant before it gets packed. So we make sure that everything is within temperature controlled environment once it arrives at the packing facility. So we take the field heat out and we pack in a temperature controlled environment. And once it arrives at the packing shed, it never leaves the cold again. So we'll pack it, we'll cold store it, we'll put it on a container, and then it has to take a ride from Peru to the port. And it's usually a couple-week ride here to the States. Once we receive the fruit, we'll give it a 24-hour kind of a equilibrium check to let it kind of balance itself out before we'll go into a ripening room, so that way we can manage the ripening process. So even though the fruit has a couple of weeks on the water, it's in a controlled atmosphere environment, so it's essentially gone to sleep for those 2 weeks, and then we give it a little time to wake up before we put it in a ripe room and ripen the fruit up before we send it out to customers.
So Rob, we understand that avocados are an alternate bearing crop. Knowing that, how are you preparing for 2018's season?
For 2018, we really expect a lot of fruit available, and we think it'll be a bumper crop. It's been a little bit of a tougher go through the current spring and summer, but we expect right now, during the summer, we'll have ample supplies and be able to supply all our customers for their needs.
Well, we really appreciate the partnership we have with Mission Produce. Thanks for all you do for us.
Thanks.
If you have questions, please reach out to us. We'll be sure to answer them.